Mike, I was going to wait till next week, but I was compelled to call because these other media outlets, Google, for instance, all these internet companies are tracking your career day by day at this point. Every day it's a different story about what you said and where you might go. So it's kind of interesting to me.
Well, I really wasn't trying to be. Go ahead.
It's not you. It's just today it is Mike Francesa on his departure to the fan and potential future with Bill Simmons. They are just all over it. And
yeah,
it's funny because a lot of them sit there and criticize you for the last 10 years, and now it's killing them that you're not going to be there anymore.
Well, listen, it's no fun to write positive stuff about people. Everyone wants to write negative stuff. That's what sells. Positive stuff, glowing stuff doesn't sell very often until you're leaving. Now you can write glowing stuff because you're leaving. Listen, I'm going to surface. I'm not at liberty to say where. As a matter of fact, it's not all been decided. I mean, it really hasn't. I've still been I met with people yesterday. I mean, I'm still working on it. I've had some very interesting offers. I'm in no rush because I really can't do anything at all for the next couple of months anyway. I mean, I can make guest appearances like the day after I leave. On Monday, I'm on CNBC because I'm going over to visit those guys at noon because I watch that show all the time from my office. So I'm going to go over and visit those guys. As I've told you, I'm going to be on their show on Monday at noon. I'm going to do this next week. I'm going to do the Good Morning Football show with Schrager and those guys. I'm going to do that next Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. Bill asked me to do my football picks on his podcast. I might do that because I've been offered a lot of places to do them, but I don't want to. I'm not interested in monetizing them or doing anything like that. I'm just going to get them out there for everybody somewhere. I will do that. I haven't decided where yet, but Bill offered me to do that. So did a couple other places. I've been offered a couple of appearances at the Super Bowl if I want to appear. A couple of shows wanted me to go out there. I don't know that I'll actually make the trek because it's Minnesota. I mean, that's the only thing. It's not exactly warm, and I can't get any golf in, so I don't know about that. So we'll have to wait and see. But who knows what's going to happen. Well, I promise I'll keep in touch, though. I promise I will. Chris in Brooklyn. What's up, Chris?
Mike, how you doing?
Good.
Mike,
what's happening?
I have a question about Giants, but just allow me one quick precious second. Mike, I'm 53. Where else am I going to get? You touched on the other day the personality of Tom Landry, the personality of Joe Gibbs. Then after all the episode with the Giants, you had the owner on. You had Manning on. That was fascinating radio.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Unbelievable. Okay?
Thank you. Yes,
that was
thank you.
Much to listen to. Mike, one question. What other coach other than Belichick would tolerate the behavior of Beckham now and in the past?
Listen, they need to. Listen, John Mara made a statement the other day about he needs Beckham to grow up. They should have been telling Beckham this 3 years ago. They missed the boat, and this is an organizational thing with Beckham. The Giants messed it up, just like they messed up Shockey. They still can salvage Beckham. The only question is, will Beckham now at this stage, will he tolerate them getting tough with him when they didn't from the beginning? If they had gotten tough with Beckham from the beginning as they should have, he would have been in line the whole time. Instead, they allowed him to do whatever he pleased. And the worst culprit, John Mara was a bad culprit. Reese was a bad culprit. Tom Coughlin was bad. The worst by far was McAdoo, because McAdoo made excuses for him. When he made the statement that he made about the Giants will have to pay the price they'll pay for my performance will be, they'll kick off from the 5-yard line, then they'll have to live with it. That should have been treated absolutely insanely by the head coach. Instead, he said, how about we just dwell on what he does well? Well, look what you let happen to this team with that. And that's why you give Andy Reid credit. Andy Reid's team is spinning out of control right now. What did he do? He took Peters, and his defense needs Peters to play. They took him and benched him this week. Against the Raiders, they benched him. They sat him out for a week. They suspended him for the game. That's what they should do. Because what he did at the end of the game was just intolerable, and they took away his game check. That's conduct detrimental. absolutely the right call, and they need him this week. They don't have anybody who can cover anybody on that team. That defense is atrocious. The Jets got 500 yards of offense against them last week. Richie in Pleasantville, what's up, Richie?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, what's happening?
I heard you talk about Terry and Sandy Alderson. I just wanted your opinion on Sandy Alderson because I am fed up with him, man. I can't believe he's still the GM.
I think Sandy was brought in to make a situation that was very unstable, which he did.
He did not.
No, he did. He made it very stable again. I mean, listen, this team was in chaos when he got there. The team went to the playoffs 2 years in a row, went to the World Series 1 year. So you can't say that
Mike,
he didn't.
what has he done the past 2 years?
Yeah, but wait a second.
He hasn't done anything.
When he took over the team, it was awful. And the team, it took him a while, but the team went to the playoffs and the World Series. You can't say they didn't. Now, last year was a bitter disappointment. And the biggest thing that Terry's done wrong since he got there was, and we don't know at times sometimes how much money he's got to work with, but as far as one of the things he's really done poorly, number one, I thought he never let Terry Collins do what he wanted to do. He should have left him alone. Number two, he did a lousy job building bullpen and bullpen depth. He's done a bad job with the bullpen overall. Their bullpen has been substandard almost all the time. And listen, Familia was good at times, but they never had the proper depth. I mean, look at the Yankee bullpen last year. They were able to overcome when guys fell. When Betances fell apart, they were able to overcome that. When Chapman went in a slump, they were able to overcome that. Why? Because they had so many different places to go in the bullpen to get it out. That was the reason why. Look at the depth in that pen last year. The depth was outrageous. Listen, no one's expecting you to copy that pen, but you can have a lot more depth than they've had. They have too many. And then, Terry gets knocked for overusing guys. He's overusing guys because he only got a couple of guys who can get anybody out. Ted and Bradley Beach. What's up, Ted?
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Good.
I have 2 points. First of all, thanks for everything.
Thank you.
You created the gold standard in sports talk radio. You have been the gold standard in sports talk radio, and you will always be the gold standard in sports talk radio. And I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Number two, listening yesterday to Aaron Boone and to Brian Cashman, there was an article in the New York Times last week when Boone's name came up, and they wrote how intelligent, he's got a photographic memory and all these other things. It came through so strongly yesterday that these two guys are speaking the same language that it really, almost every sentence, it was as if they were copying each other. I think, I was shocked that they picked Aaron Boone, but I think it was a great move. They're really going to work together.
Well, I do agree that they have beliefs. The thing that I took from it more than anything else is how much love they want to give these players now. I mean, that has changed. Used to be the manager was like, hey, here's what we do. You want to play? Here's what we do. I mean, that's it. Now it's you heard Mickey Callaway with the Mets. The players will know how much we love them. You heard Boone say, hey, the players will understand how much we're pulling for them. These players are getting paid a ton of money. I mean, you would think they could be a little tougher with them, but it sounds like they really want to go as far as they can to be extremely, complimentary, extremely, warm and very forgiving towards these players. I just wonder about discipline a little bit. And it just shows you how much it's changed. I mean, it really is amazing. I mean, and Cash admitted how much it's changed. I understand it has changed. We understand that the guys who were the dinosaurs, the guys who were the coaches who were tough. I mean, and you can think of how many we know that have come down the pike, like a Ditka or a Parcells or a Knight or even a Riley. I mean, these guys were tough on their players. They expected them to be in great shape. They expected them to be tough physically, and, they were very demanding. And, it just shows you it's a different day now. It really is. And it shows you when a guy like Belichick, now he does have Brady, but it shows you that he can still get through to the players now and get them on the same page and functioning as a group. Now, I think he's very good at picking the guys who fit his team. They expect players to be two things on that team. They expect them to be smart and versatile. Smart, like your role and other people's role, and two, versatile, where you can play more than one role. And those are the things that Pats want on their players. And that, I think, is their hallmark, is that they look for players who are both smart and versatile, and that says a lot. They don't have to have the most talented player, but they want a player who is both smart and versatile, and those are very, very strong qualities they have. Jason in Brooklyn, what's up, Jason?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
What's happening?
I just wanted to say that I listened to your podcast where you had the interview with John Mara the day that McAdoo got fired. You know, I was really impressed the way he handled the whole thing in terms of how he just took everything upon himself. He blamed himself. You know, for the same price, he could have just, blamed it on McAdoo. He said it was all on him, the whole Eli Manning situation. And I was just really impressed. He wasn't happy with the whole situation, but I was really, really impressed with the way he handled the whole thing, blaming it on himself and just moving forward from there.
Okay, I think that's fair. You know what? I think that's who he is, number one. And I do think he was somewhat culpable in this part two, because I think he did originally sign off on this. So I do think he had culpability here, which he understood and didn't run from. So I think he clearly did have some culpability. Adam in Bayonne, what's up, Adam?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, what's happening?
So I want to talk to you really quickly about the Jets, and I'd love to hear what your perspective is around draft time, but obviously through this venue we're not going to get to hear you. But they've obviously achieved in certain areas or overachieved in certain areas, and we've seen some positive things. But I guess the question I have for you is, going into next year, obviously they need a quarterback.
No question.
But do we trust this regime to,
yes,
A, draft the right quarterback, and B, develop the right quarterback?
Listen, that's
something. Are we better off trying to get an Alex Smith or something? Because I have no confidence
I don't want Alex
these guys
Smith.
can develop a quarterback.
I don't want Alex Smith because I think you're settling. I don't want Alex Smith. I just think you're settling.
You think Bowles and his team can develop a quarterback? I don't know that I have that trust in them.
Listen, I think you have to find a talented quarterback. Listen, and Bowles isn't going to be the one. He's not a quarterback coach. He's not going to develop
Johnny
him.
Morton?
Well, you got your offensive guys, and you believe in them. You bring guys in to coach the offense and to coach the quarterback. That's their job. But do I think McCagnon can find a quarterback? I think he can do as good
as the right one.
Well, listen,
right.
that is the thing that every team faces, whether or not they can find a quarterback if they don't have one. If you don't have one, you are in pursuit of one 24/7. That's what your whole job is, because until you get one, you cannot win big. You can have a season, you can have a season like the Vikings are having right now. You can have things, but you're not going to build a team that's winning year after year until you find a quarterback that you can win with. That's just the way it is. And sometimes that isn't always the answer, because you can have that and you can ruin that too. Look at the Colts. So you can turn that into a mess if you don't watch it. So, but the point is, you have to find that guy. I think, first of all, the team is in the right hands with McCagnon. I'm not 100% sold on Bowles, but I told you before, even last week turned a lot of people around on Bowles. I noticed that. But before that, I told you that Bowles was worth keeping and giving him at least another chance to see where he would go with this team. I wouldn't be changing coaches. They're not changing general managers. That's not happening. McCagnon is solidly entrenched there, and he's the right guy. And I think Bowles deserves to be the coach. I actually think the coaches have prepared the team well this year. They haven't finished games well. They've made a lot of dumb mistakes in the fourth quarter. They've had guys who have played well in games and messed up in the fourth quarter. Their quarterback has cost them a couple of games in the fourth quarter, but overall he's played wonderfully. Last week he played sensationally. The Jets have really played this year far better than anybody and far more competitively than anybody could have hoped for. They have started to put an infrastructure in place. They have plenty of money to spend, but they need to find the quarterback. I do not believe he's on the roster. I do not think for a second he's on the roster, but I would not settle for a backup that can maybe get me to 9-7 or even 10-6. I want to try and find the guy I can play with and win with. So that's what I'm looking for. So that's what you're hoping to do. It's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it takes teams forever. Sometimes teams go for years and years and years. Look how many quarterbacks these teams go through. It's not an easy process. It's the hardest thing to do. That's why when you get one, you hold on tight. As we approach 2, later on, David Stern, Brian Billick, among our guests.